Alright, so I'm going to be opening up and disassembling this HP Pavilion gaming laptop model 15-CX0045NR. So as you can see, this model, the hinge is broken here. So this is actually going to be somewhat of a weird disassembly. But anyways, yeah, keep that in mind for the disassembly, that yours is going to be different because this one, the hinges are broken. Well, anyways, first thing we're going to do is remove these screws from the bottom. These are PH1 or JAS1 screws. Excuse me, just had a bunch of sodas. But anyways, you want to keep track of the screws because they are different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that is I take the flat side after removing them, put them on my desk in the pattern I remove them. So you see this rectangular pattern, or I guess 2 rows. So we're going to take the screws out and put them in that pattern. So there's 4 along the back here, and then there's 3 along the front. Alright? If this video helps you, don't forget to like and subscribe and share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to fix their devices. If it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing to the channel. I do these repairs for a living. And as I pump out more of these videos, I actually slowly lose repairs. So hopefully the repairs will contribute or convert into smaller kind of contributions through my YouTube channel. YouTube doesn't really pay as much as all the business I'm losing. So hopefully as people learn to work on their computers from my videos, they'll be able to help out. All right. So let's keep removing all these screws. Okay, so now that we've got all the screws out, this cover, I'm going to tell you right now, it's actually pretty difficult to pop off. I have to use a thin metal pry tool. Of course, you can use plastic pry tools too, or you can try. Most likely they're going to end up snapping. So anyways, there's like small gaps in the cover here. It's going to be a little bit difficult to show this. I don't know if you guys will be able to see, but there's like some small gaps. You have to get the tool into those little gaps, and then you have to look for where the clips are and kind of just work them and pop them out. Okay, so I'm going to start from here. As you can see, I got my tool in there, and then we popped up part of that. Once we got that, we're going to kind of work our way over down the side here. Let's see, I forgot where all the clips are. I might have to actually work down the side of the cover. But again, this is a very difficult to pop off cover. Alright, we're going to go over to this side and do the same thing. Kind of just get underneath. You just want to barely get underneath. You don't want to stick the tool too far because you don't want to damage any internal components. I think this side actually is harder to pop up than the other side. So I might have to just continue going off from this side. Alright, well, let's go ahead and continue going on this side. So as you can see, we got this side popped up. Okay, again, we're going to continue going down the side here. Again, this is pretty difficult to pop out. So I have the tool only going slightly in. You don't want to put the tool too far. And then let's go along the side here and see where the clips are. Again, this is a very difficult, oh, actually, you don't want to pry that side. Let's go around to the front. Alright, so again, get the tool in the little gap. I'm going to try and slowly work it to see where I can find the clips and remove them. I only did this like one time a little while back, so I'm going to have to try and figure out again where those clips were. So I got the tool in slightly. I'm going to slowly work my way over to the side and see if the clips pop out. They aren't popping out, so again, this one is pretty difficult to pop up. I'm just going to have to keep working it until I find the way in. I think it was towards the back here because this side is kind of popping up more. Okay. So I'm trying to pull up this part of the cover, but as you can see, it's not really coming out. Last time I was kind of using a suction cup at the same time. Actually, let me zoom out so you can see a little bit better. Right? Last time I was trying to use a suction cup and pulling it, and as you can see, nothing really happens. even when pulling it really hard. So I think I might actually have to pry it out from the sides. I just remember the last time I did it, I had to pry really hard. Oh, okay, here we go. I'm going to use my fingernail in here as I kind of pull up. Let's see if we can get it. Part of this clip came out. So let's see if we can continue going along the side here, or if it's not going to come out at all. There we go. Okay, so I'm pulling up with these fingers. I'm pushing down on the other side of the cover with my thumb. Okay, as you can see, the cover released. I have to be extra careful because the broken hinge, the cables are coming out. All right, so let's go ahead and go along here and do the same thing. Again, pulling up with these fingers, I'm pushing down with my thumb. This is why fingernails are very useful. You can't do that with pry tools. You need, like, I don't know if they have a tool that kind of works like that, where it kind of pinches both the opposite direction to pop it up. Okay, so you can see, oh, I have to use this side so that I can pull up ahead and push down with my thumb over here. Okay, let's see if I can pop this side out. Yeah, this side is much tougher. Oh, there we go. Okay. Again, this is a very difficult cover to pop out. So basically I'm pulling up and out with my fingernails here and then pushing down on the bottom cover there. Okay, so here you can see it's kind of popping up. Right, there are also clips in the center here, so we're not going to be able to get them all out just by pulling it up like this. I don't know why this side is really stuck in there. Wow, that's stuck pretty strong. Alright, well, anyways, now that we have the front and the sides out, let's see if we can kind of lift it. Oh, there we go. Okay, and there we go. We got the bottom cover off, as you can see. I cleaned out the fans earlier, so the fans are nice and clean already. Okay, I'm going to set the cover aside. The cover is a lot easier to put back than it is to take out. Excuse me. Because you just kind of push everything down really hard. Anyways, so what you see inside, there's the 2 sticks of RAM. So we're going to pop the RAM out. Just pull these 2 metal tabs to the side. You can see the RAM pops up like that, and then you can go ahead and wiggle and pull it out. So the RAM here is 8 gigs, PC4 2666V. So you can use any RAM that's PC4 2666V. You can get 2 16 gig sticks if you want. But again, make sure it's PC4 2666V. Alright, so we're going to put the stick of RAM back in. Actually, there's some dirt on there. Let me wipe that off. I always do this. Some people worry that it's damaging the RAM, but don't worry about it. The pins are gold. As long as you have yourself grounded and you're not shorting something or static discharging into the RAM, you should be okay. Alright, we're going to remove the SSD here. Actually, let's take out the battery first, just to be safe. I mean, the computer's already off, but we'll do it anyways just to be safe. Alright. Usually the most important thing, if you're disconnecting the screen cable, you want to remove the battery. If you don't, you can damage the LCD or the backlight circuit or the LCD cable or a combination of all three. So you want to be very careful if you're going to mess with the screen cables to do that. Alright, so we're going to remove the 3 screws here, holding the battery down. Again, keep the screws in order. They are different size, shape, and lengths. After you do that, we're going to basically pull up the battery. Let me actually zoom in a bit here. Okay, I have to be a little careful because the hinge is broken. So anyways, now we're going to pull the top part here of the battery up. I'm going to use my thumbs down here to rotate it, just like that. Once you do that, you can go ahead and pull the battery forward like that. So here you can see the battery model number is SR03XL. Alright, they also have an HP spare part number here, L08855-855. Alright, you want to be very careful with this stuff. Oh, it's pretty dusty. Alright, the battery's not too bad to handle, it's completely sealed. And I'm surprised, this battery's like the opposite of how I see batteries. Usually they're like inflated. This one is like vacuumed or something. It's like suctioned in backwards. But anyways, so if the batteries start getting inflated, that means they're going bad, so keep that in mind. Alright, now that we've removed the battery, you want to open up the computer, and then you want to press and hold the power button for 10 to 15 seconds. So I guess the button is on this side. can't really see because the camera's angle, and I can't really open it all the way because of the broken hinge. So just know that I'm pressing and holding the power button for about 10 to 15 seconds. Alright, and this is for safety again. If you don't do this, there's a very good chance you can damage the motherboard if you're messing with the screen cable, and if you're doing other stuff and you accidentally drop something conductive on the board, you can short something out. Anyways, you got the headphone audio jack here plugged in with this cable, so it is removable with one screw, it looks like. Then you got the trackpad connector here, goes up over here. All right, it looks like it's removable. There's some screws. Oops, I need to zoom out so you guys can see a little bit better. So it's removable. There's screws here. It looks like you will have to remove the hard drive to get to it. So there's a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive. Looks very easy to remove. There's four screws, or yeah, so 2 screws here, and then 1 screw here and 1 up here. So those 4. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and start removing stuff, because I am going to have to, actually it looks like I might just have to remove the heat sinks to get to the bottom of the hinges. Actually, I'm going to avoid removing the heat sinks and see if I can do it by removing the motherboard. I don't know if that's easier or harder. Both ways seem to be kind of a pain. Yeah, okay, let me see. I'll remove the motherboard. That might be more useful. The heatsink is very common. If you're wanting to see how to redo thermal paste, just search thermal paste. It's been repaired, and I have a lot of videos showing how to do this kind of stuff. It's essentially the same thing. Just remove all the screws holding the fans and the heat sinks in place, and then pull it up. Alright, so anyways, let's go ahead and start removing other components. So we got the M.2 SSD here. This looks to be a SATA SSD, but let's see. Alright, let's go ahead and pull this up. Oh, it's held, this tape from the LCD cable is kind of stuck to it. Let me zoom in a little bit. It's kind of stuck to it, so we are going to have to peel this back. Okay. Alright, I don't know why they stuck it to the SSD. That kind of is annoying. Alright, there we go. Once you remove the tape, as you can see, the SSD pops up like that, and then you can go ahead and pull this back. Alright, so here you can see this is Intel Optane memory. So there's only 16 gigs of Intel Optane memory. Sorry about that, I was holding it out of view. I would replace this with a M.2. I believe this supports PCIe NVMe, but it doesn't say it does. So you can try it. I think it will support a PCIe NVMe, and you can use that to boot. It's a lot faster than doing it this way. I don't know why they're, I guess to save money. Alright, so we got that. Let's go ahead and disconnect these cables. So we're gonna flip this latch up for the audio jack cable, and then we're gonna pull this out. Do the same thing with the trackpad cable. Alright, flip that latch up and pull that out. Alright, we got the keyboard backlight connector here. We're going to flip that latch up and pull this out. Keyboard cable here, flip that latch up and pull that out. Alright, I hope that I'm going to be able to remove the hinges, or get to the hinges by removing the motherboard. Hopefully I won't have to remove the heatsink first, but we'll see. Alright, now we're going to remove the hard drive here. So this, you can also upgrade this 2.5-inch SATA hard drive to a 2.5-inch SATA SSD as well. Alright, let's go ahead and remove the 4 screws here. Oops, I was holding on to the screw for the M.2. Alright, so let's go ahead and remove the 4 screws for the hard drive as well. Again, this is a lot of a lot of screws, so make sure that you're keeping them in order so that you can put them back. Alright, if you get them all mixed up, you can damage your computer by putting the screws in random spots, so be very careful with that. Alright. Okay, so we got that. Then we got this one. One way I kind of test if you mix up the screws is I get a small needle and just see how deep the screw hole is, and then you can kind of check with the screws and see if they're longer or shorter. As long as they're shorter than how long how deep the screw hole is, then you should be okay. You don't want to put a screw that's too long and then end up it goes through and then pushes through the the other side. All right, so we're gonna undo the hard drive cable here, flip that latch up. All right, and now that we got all 4 hard drive screws up, we can lift the hard drive out and pull that cable out. All right, so here's the hard drive bracket. You will want to transfer these 2 brackets over to the new hard drive or the SSD, and then you also want to transfer this over, but you want to be careful because there is some adhesive holding this down. So if you are going to transfer this over, you want to carefully peel this adhesive off, okay, just like that. And then while holding that out of the way, you can go ahead and pull this connector off. So it's a little bit tough to pull this connector off. I find the easiest way is from this side. You can kind of get your fingernail or a pry tool in there, and then you can use that to kind of pry this up. Again, it is a little tough for some reason. All right, you want to be careful not to pry this black part off. All right, but you're gonna basically just pry this part out. And what I find is if it's too difficult that way, what I do is I use my thin pry tool. You can use a plastic one, would be a little bit safer, but I use that, and then I get that in between here, and then I use that to twist this out. But is something holding it? It's this cable for some reason is holding super tight, which is really weird. So normally get the tool in there, twist this, and it should pop out, but for some reason it doesn't want to come out. So I don't want to risk it. I mean, their hard drive is fine, so I don't want to mess with stuff. But basically, I would use a tool and then twist that and pry this out. But again, since their hard drive is fine, I'm going to leave it as is. Okay, I don't know why it's being difficult to pry that out. And I don't want to risk putting too much force and damaging it since their hard drive is fine. Alright, so we got all these cables here. We got the SD card slot cable going here. I don't know where the other end of the cable is. It's just going under. I think it's going under the motherboard, under this blue stuff. But this blue stuff is like held in there. Okay, here you can see it's actually going up this way. And then you also got the, what is this board? So this other larger board is for the 2 USB ports and the hard drive light, it looks like. Right, so here you can see it goes to this. And then there's another connector here as well. I don't know what that tiny connector's for. There's so many like little cables here. Oh, okay, I think this is for the power button actually. So I can actually leave that there. The only thing is I don't know how I'm going to remove those cables, so we'll find out. Alright, so we got this fan connector here. We're going to go ahead and disconnect that. I just use my 2 fingernails at the wings, and then I kind of just wiggle the connector and it pops out, just like that. LCD connector, we're going to have to carefully peel up this adhesive here. Alright, I like to kind of like pull it backwards instead of pulling it up to kind of roll the adhesive back. Okay, just like this, kind of peeling it backwards slowly. But it really depends on the connector. Yeah, this is pretty tough adhesive to peel off. Wow. All right, I'm gonna hold this connector down a little bit as I kind of slightly peel it back. Sometimes it helps to kind of walk the adhesive like this. Okay, here we go. And then now that we got the adhesive back, you don't want to keep peeling this adhesive because you don't want to peel it away from the connector. What we're going to do is we got the wings of the connector here, and then same thing, we're going to walk this connector out. Okay, slowly applying pressure left, right, and there we go. You can see the connector pops out like that. Okay, so I'm going to unthread the connector here underneath this. Again, I don't know if this is going to be able to come out without me taking the whole heatsink out. I hope it will, because I don't want to have to redo all the thermal paste. But yeah. Okay, let's see. What else do we need to remove here? I'm going to check this and see if it lifts without having to take everything out. Okay. Alright, so next we're going to disconnect this cable, which I believe is for speakers. If you can't reach in there, which it looks like it's going to be tough, I'm going to try doing this with some pliers or tweezers. So I got these tweezers. I'm going to go again, same thing, just around the wings, okay? And then I'm just going to wiggle the wings left, right, and there we go, it came out. Same thing with the fan connector, just wiggle the wings, Okay, and there we go. It came out nicely. All right, we got the wireless card here. So, okay, they just labeled the antennas 1 and 2. So there's a 2 here, and there's a 1 on this one. So I'm gonna lift this taped on piece here. So this is just like a hard plastic piece. I'm gonna try and hold that back. And then to remove the antennas, I just pull up on the tails, okay? So just like this. Excuse me. Okay, it's hard to hold this thick plastic piece out of the way and then kind of show this, so you might not be able to see, but I'm basically just pulling up straight on the tail, just like this, okay? Let's see if I can show this one a little bit better. Okay, just pulling straight up on the tail with my fingernail, just like that. All right, so now that we got that, we're gonna go ahead and undo the screw here. Holding that plastic thing out of the way. All right, it pops up at an angle like that. Then we're gonna wiggle this and pull that out. There we go. Okay, let's see here. What else do we need to remove? Again, I'm gonna leave that power button there. Hopefully I'm gonna be able to remove these cables underneath if we can swing the board over. All right, so let's start removing motherboard screws, I think. I am going to have to unroute a lot of this cabling all over here, but let's start removing motherboard screws. All right, so first thing we're gonna remove is this one up here. Okay. Then we're gonna remove the one down here. Make sure your screwdriver stays seated in the screw. You don't want to end up damaging the screws. If you want, you can like draw some labels here, but there are like little arrows pointing to these. So there's a little arrow there, and there's a little arrow up here. So that's how you know which screws you removed. All right, then we're gonna remove the 2 fan screws here. Okay, this is pretty complicated. There's going to be a lot of screws. Again, keep track of them. This screw is shorter than the other ones that I just removed, the one down here. Okay, then we're going to remove the other fan screw here. Alright, that one's also a longer screw. Okay, so I do the pattern like this, 2, and then 1 down here, and then 1 back up here. So that's how I kind of keep track of the screws. So do it however you want to keep track of it, but that's the way I do it. All right, we're going to remove the 1 screw up here. Then we're going to remove the 1 screw here. Again, this is actually a shorter screw as well. I'm going to try and point those out just in case you happen to mix them up. Wow, this screw was pretty hard to remove. I had to push down hard. Okay. This screw is also shorter. It might be slightly longer than the other one on that side. All right, let's see. Then we got a screw right here, hidden, kind of somewhat hidden. Okay. Let's see, got that. This is slightly over to the right. And then we got this one. Okay, then we got this one here. Sorry if I'm going out of view of the camera. I'm trying to keep checking, but it's a little complicated. All right, this screw is longer again. So these screws are short. Looks like the only motherboard screw that's long so far is the one up here, okay? So if for some reason you mix them all up. All right, and then we got another fan screw up here. It looks like the fans can come out without taking out the whole motherboard. So let's see. Oh yeah, this is loose now. So now I can actually unthread the wireless antennas here. So wireless antennas go in through this. Then we're going to unroute everything, okay? Good. All right, let's unroute this speaker cable and get it through there. All right, so we got fan number 1 out. All right, let's see if the other fan will come out just as easily. If they both come out, that's actually, oh, this is actually a very nice design. If the fans break, you actually don't need to take the whole computer apart. You just take these fans out. This fan feels a little rumbly. The customer didn't complain about fan issues. They both feel the same, so maybe that's just the design. Maybe the magnets are kind of stronger in that sense that it's making it do that. All right, so got both fans out. Let's see here. So you can actually see the hinge screws underneath here. So maybe, oh no, we do have to take the whole motherboard out actually, I think, or at least the whole heatsink. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. I think I got all the screws out that I need to get out. So let's see if we can lift up the left side here. No? Okay, maybe these two screws are also holding it down. So let's go ahead and remove these two. Oh, actually there are arrows pointing there, so yep. All right, so let's go ahead and remove those two screws. Okay, and this metal plate comes up with it. Okay, keep that in mind. All right. Okay, now let's see if we can lift this all up. Okay, we're gonna try and lift from the left side. I hope nothing is holding this into place. Let me take a look. Okay, it looks like the power jack is recessed inside. It's not gonna get snagged. The HDMI port might actually be getting snagged on there, so oh, I hope not. Okay, I think it is. So let's see if I can pull this part over slightly. No, that's gonna suck. I hope I don't have to take the whole heatsink out first. I think I might have to. Don't tell me that. That's gonna be terrible. Oh, dang it. Don't tell me that. Okay, let's see. Can we lift the right-hand side up? So again, the right-hand side has all these little cables going underneath. So I'm going to see if I can just disconnect these cables. Hopefully they're not all taped down. I'm going to flip this latch and let's go ahead and disconnect this. Looks like there's some adhesive holding it. Let's go ahead and disconnect that. Oh man, that's not going to be fun. All right, let's peel up this adhesive. You want to be very careful not to crease this cable when peeling it up. Okay, so this cable came up nicely. What about this one? I don't know about the SD card slot. Let's go ahead and flip that latch up. There's a lot of adhesive here as well. You don't want to pinch the folded side. Let me zoom in, see if I can show this. All right, you don't want to pinch the folded stuff. So I'm going to try and go from here and slowly peel this up if I can. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see. Can I somehow peel this out of the way? Again, there's some adhesive holding this thing down and adhesive holding this down. Let's peel the adhesive off here. I'm gonna carefully try and do this. Maybe I can scrape it off with my plastic scrapey tool. I kind of want to preserve that so I can just stick it back down if possible. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we'll find out. All right. It is still a tiny bit sticky, so hopefully that'll work. They did stick a little bit on there. Are you serious? Okay. Yeah, that's going to suck. I'm going to try scraping this off of this cable a little. Have to be very careful because I don't want to damage the cable. I'm not pressing down. I'm just slowly pushing the adhesive away. There we go. All right, and let's see if we can somehow peel this cable up. Okay, this is also held in with some adhesive. Let's try and peel this up. There we go. All right, it's also held in with adhesive here. So I'm gonna slowly pull that and try and peel that up. Man, this is annoying. Oh, God. Okay, I'm gonna try and peel from this side. Again, I'm trying to avoid like creasing this piece too much. I don't want to break this cable. So I'm just slowly pulling. There we go. All right, hopefully it's not taped on the other side. So now that we got that, let's see if we can lift this up from this way. All right, let's zoom out. I'm gonna try and lift it from the bottom here, but it's looking like it's gonna get caught there. So I don't know if this is going to work. Slowly lifting it up. Come on. Don't tell me I have to pull this whole thing out. That's gonna really suck. I don't want to redo all the thermal paste. Oh man. Okay, I might have to. It looks like this board does not let you pull it out this way. I think it's mainly because of this HDMI port here. Alright, heatsink removal it is. I'm going to have to redo all the thermal paste, and now I removed the whole motherboard for nothing probably. But anyways, let's go ahead and remove the 7 screws, okay? So let's go ahead and remove the 7 screws holding down the heatsink. I was really hoping I wouldn't have to do this, but alright. Guess more tutorial for you guys. Okay, 1, 2, 3. When you put this stuff back, you want to put them somewhat in the order. I'll show that in the video later. The reassembly I'm going to have to do after I fix the hinges. So, yeah, and I hope the screen's going to be okay, because I wasn't expecting to have to put this much downward force into these screws. Yeah, I'm using the right screwdriver. Okay, 3. That's the 5th screw holding that, and then we got 2 more over here. That's annoying. Okay. Alright, so we got all of those. Let's see if we can lift this up. Hopefully the thermal paste isn't too solid and we can lift this. Alright, it came out somewhat nicely. I just had to slowly lift it. Now that we got that out, we can go ahead and slide this back. Here you can see the thermal paste underneath. I have to kind of put something over this so dust and whatever doesn't fall on it overnight. So I'll find something to put over it. Actually, I'll probably put the cover itself over it. Alright, let me put this somewhere. If you want to see how to clean up the thermal paste, I'll show that later once I finish fixing the hinges. But anyways, for now, I'm going to pause the video. Alright, I'm back. So I just covered the heat sinks. I put them upside down on another table. And then I put the plastic bottom cover on top of that just to keep it from getting messed up. Alright, so now that we peeled this up, it might be a little bit easier to get the other part out. So here we're going to lift up the right hand side of the board, and we're going to kind of wiggle this. As you can see, like, we have to lift this because they put this dumb plastic stuff over here that cover the heatsink, so there's no way to lift it like this with the heatsink in place. And then now that we're lifting this up here, actually also you can see underneath the heatsink you got the 2 hinge screws here. So you do have to remove the heatsinks and the fans to be able to get access to the hinges here. We technically didn't have to remove the motherboard, alright? But since I already took everything out, I might as well just show this, alright? So we're going to lift this side up, and then we have to slide this over to the right slightly, and there we go. And the reason we had to slide it over to the right was because the HDMI port kind of gets in there, alright? So here you can see on the bottom, there's not really anything under here. They just have this like thermal spreader thing here, and the cables if you wanted to disconnect them for some reason. Alright, so there we go. And here's the charge port if you need to replace it. The LED is right next to it, so kind of replacing this is a little bit risky. I don't know if you need to replace that. There you go. Here you can see the little LED is right there. Okay. And then you got the 4 pins. It looks like 4 pins. I only see 4 pins. I don't know. But, yeah. Interesting. There's only 4 pins to this one. Okay, so I'm going to set the motherboard aside, and we'll take a look at the hinges. Okay, so we got this here. so this design, all these cables are going through here. So the wireless antenna cables. All right, let's untangle the speaker cables. So got the LCD LVDS connector, and then you got the wireless antennas going through here. So they go underneath and then they route through these little areas. We are going to take all these hinge screws out. Okay. And let's see, I'm gonna see if I can somehow reattach the hinges. I'm gonna use some JB Weld. Anyways, let's go ahead and remove all these screws. Okay, so got that out. So now this hinge is loose like that. Sorry, this since the hinge is broken, I can't really show how you would do this if the hinges were okay. But normally what you would do is you would open the screen about 90 degrees, if not more, and then you would hang the screen over the edge of your desk. And then when you remove these screws, you can kind of maneuver this bottom case out. Since both these hinges are broken, I can't really do that because then the screen will just fall, like yank on the wires or something and fall out. So we're going to try and do it this way. Also, the customer gave me a bag with like these broken pieces here. So we're not going to reuse these hinge screws, but we are going to reuse this bracket if I can put that back on somehow. I'll have to figure out how it was being held in place, and then I'm going to have to try and get that back in. All right, so now that we got this out, let's go ahead and rotate this. So normally if you have your screen open, basically this will kind of be rotating like that, and then you can kind of so basically it'll be like this, rotated, but again the screen would be going over the edge of your desk, so this will be facing up instead of the way I'm having it go right now. And then you can kind of swing this stuff out, but I don't know how I'm gonna do this on camera. Let's see. Okay, let me zoom out a bit. Okay, you can see it over the edge of my desk here. So I'm gonna have to somehow rotate this and get that out. Hopefully these cables will still be okay. All right, this one's weird because it didn't fold open as far the other way. But okay, I think this hinge wasn't as opened as far, so now I have to kind of wiggle it out. This is kind of awkward way to, I don't know how I'm gonna get this out. Oh, it's caught behind this screen, so come on, there we go. Can I get this out? Man, this is, I don't know, this is gonna be a challenge. The other challenge is I don't know how these wires were before, so when I go to epoxy this, it's going to be kind of a, I don't know if it's supposed to be on top or below. Alright, so we got the two hinges released, so we got this part, and we're going to go set that aside as well. There's so many parts to this thing. I'm going to have to finish this in like by tomorrow, otherwise it's going to be all over my desk and in my way. So I have to kind of look at the other thing. How was it? Like this? That was on there. No? Wait, what? Okay, wait, I think, is that right? Sorry, I need to kind of look at this to kind of figure out how this was before. So no, so it goes this way. Okay, so that's gonna be like this. All right, let's see if I can figure this out. So first things first, again, this is gonna be confusing with all these wires. I don't know how I'm gonna figure out how to put these the right way, but we'll see. I'll just do whatever works. Okay, so I'm gonna have to figure this piece out. I think this piece sits inside underneath the screen here this way, like that. Looks about right. Okay, so now what we need to do is get this faceplate off, or the bezel. Okay, so the bezel, if I remember correctly, was like glued. It has like an adhesive there. All right, to remove these kinds of bezels, you kind of pull up on one side like this. Okay, but here you can see the adhesive is pulling the screen up with it. So it's going to be a little tricky. Let's see here. Oh man. Okay, I'm going to start with the bottom here, and then I'm going to use this tool to kind of just push the screen down slightly as I'm kind of pulling the plastic bezel away. Okay, since I have a billion like popsicle sticks here, I'm going to use those to kind of keep it from sticking back to itself. Though you don't really need those, I just like using them because it helps me a little bit. Okay, let's see, this is dangerous because the thing I'm more worried about is that the screen is going to end up cracking with how much force to try and get this thing out. So I'm actually going to run the tool along the adhesive to just cut through the adhesive. You can use any thin tools to do this. You can use like playing cards or something. You don't want to use something too thick, like you don't want to use a what do you call, like credit card or something. You want to use something thinner than that. Maybe a guitar pick might work. You can also use like a thin plasticky material. I have this stuff from like the hard drives. Sometimes I'll just cut these and then use that. That sometimes will work. All right, let's see here. Is that even coming out? No. Okay, so there we go. I'm gonna pull that, pry that up. Okay, I can probably take these popsicle sticks out, but whatever. All right, let's go work around the side edge here. I don't have enough desk space, so I don't know how I'm gonna keep this in view of the camera. Let's see here, is that gonna work? Yeah, that works. Okay, so I'm gonna go along the side as well. I think there's also adhesive going along the side, so I'm gonna have to be very careful not using too much force. Okay, going underneath, and I'm twisting it upwards in the center part and then pushing this way and downwards on the outside part. So okay, in case you're wondering how I'm kind of lifting the screen or the bezel. Okay, I hate when they use adhesive in this stuff. All right, so there we go, it's coming out. Let's rotate this and do the other side now. Okay, let's move this popsicle stick to the corner like this. Oh no, I'm knocking some screws around. Let me make sure I don't mess them up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I need to make sure my screws aren't getting messed up, screwed up. All right, let's go. Actually, I'm going to try and do it this way because otherwise I'm going to end up knocking all the screws over. So let's try and pull from this side. There we go. Same thing, pulling the bezel inwards this way while I'm kind of twisting it with the center going upwards. I hope the screen will be okay with all this force that I'm trying to get this stuff out. Right, I'm gonna now move the popsicle stick that way, and let's go ahead and work towards the top now. Same thing, there's adhesive going under there. We're gonna have to be careful as well. Okay, looks like it's working. Slowly twist up this way and pull inwards. Just like this. Hopefully this is making sense to you guys. I have a lot of these kinds of repairs. A lot of them don't use adhesive like this. They just use the clips. This one they use clips and adhesive, which is very annoying. But it is what it is. Okay, there we go. So we got this whole bezel off. You can see all the adhesive that they use. Alright, so we're going to set that aside. Okay, so now let's get these popsicle sticks out of the way. Alright, so they have this metal bracket, even that popped out, which is pretty crazy. I'm probably gonna have to take this bracket out and then bend it slightly, excuse me, because this bracket seems okay. Looks like they used some adhesive there a little bit. And this cable, I don't know if it's supposed to run underneath like that. Okay, so how is this supposed to go? Is it supposed to go like this? That's a problem. I don't know how these cables were supposed to run. I'm guessing it ran around this way or something, around these screws. Okay, again, this piece seems like it might be bent a little bit, so let me take this screw out. Okay, and then let's go ahead and lift this up. And I'm gonna just bend this slightly. Let's see if it's flat or not. Yeah, it's not really completely flat, so I'm gonna bend this slightly. I don't know, I'm kind of scared to bend this. I don't know if it's gonna just snap. It feels like it might snap. It feels kind of like plastic. It's weird. All right. I guess that kind of worked. Well, we'll just put that back on there. I'm gonna use some red thread locker to hold this down, just so it doesn't come loose. Usually these hinge screws end up breaking because they become loose. So I like to put a little bit of this red thread locker on there. Just a little bit, not very much. You probably can't even see, but it's very little. It doesn't go all the way around, just on that spot. So that way when you get the screw in, it will actually spread it all around by itself. Alright, so I'm going to hold this down and we're going to tighten that into place. Okay, and if you're wondering how to remove the screen, or yeah, the LCD from here, man, yeah, I might have to bend that more because it's, I don't know. If you're wondering how to remove the screen from here, so you would take this metal bracket out. Underneath you see this little tab here. So these are stretch adhesives. You would grab this and you would pull it and stretch it, like pull it straight back. You don't want to pull it up, you want to pull it straight back parallel to the screen, like going backwards that way. Alright, and that should release the adhesive. You will have to like stretch it pretty far, pulling it back. Alright, keep that in mind. This piece doesn't seem to want to bend back, it stays. I don't want to like bend it too hard and then it ends up like snapping, so I'm trying to be a little bit, yeah, I don't know, it feels like it might just snap if I bend it. It doesn't feel like a bendable metal, so I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten this on here. It looks like there's a lot of wiggle room here, so it's kind of strange, so I'm gonna just try and pull it over to the right as far as possible and then tighten that down. Okay. Oh, it looks like, is it designed to wobble like that? Maybe that's just how it's designed, because that screw's really tight in place and this thing still wobbles like that. This side too, so I guess that's just how it's designed. So I guess I'll just leave it like that. Alright, let's see here. So, we got this. Then we got this piece here that I'm guessing is supposed to go under. This whole metal piece got bent up. Man, that's pretty crazy. So, I don't know if this plastic is supposed to go underneath or on top. That's the weird thing. So, there's all this cabling here. And again, this one goes around. I'm guessing it goes around like that too, because I don't think it goes before that since the curve is there. Alright, let's see. So we're going to try and get this piece under here. Let me actually unroute this cable here. And hopefully I'll be able to put it back okay. Yeah, and you want to be very careful. If you break that cable, you're not going to have any screen display. Alright, so we got the wireless antenna here. So looks like this is supposed to be here, and all this plastic is supposed to be melted to hold it into place. So let's see here, how am I going to do this? I'm probably going to use my 3D printer pen to melt this plastic back down. I don't know about the one that's underneath this metal piece. I can't bend that metal piece back down, I don't think. I can try. Yeah, no, it's not going to stay bent. So, okay, I'm going to get my 3D printer pen and I will be back. I'll see you guys in a bit. Let me move some stuff out of the way and see if I can zoom in a little bit to show this. Okay, I'll be back. Alright, so I got the 3D printer pen. I'm going to have to rotate this so that I can work on it because there's no way I can work on it with this facing this way. So let's go ahead and rotate it. Probably this way will work. I don't know if you guys will be able to see properly, but alright, let's see. How do we line this up here? It looks like it lines up this way. Okay. There's all these little pieces that are supposed to somewhat line up in here. Let's see if I can rotate it this way and keep the antennas from knocking all the screws over. Okay, so how can I get this all to line up properly here? That thing's going to take a little while to heat up. Alright, looks like it's supposed to be melted over here as well. And it looks like there used to be a melted thing here, but it just broke off. So I don't know how I'm going to fix that. Can I somehow push this old stuff through? Let me try, since I got time while it's waiting to heat up. Okay, so I used a little thumbtack and just pushed that through and it looked like it worked. So let's dump that broken plastic stuff out. Alright, so we're gonna have to get some melted plastic all in these areas, so yeah, let's get this back in. Kind of have to tilt it over slightly. Okay. Alright, it looks like it's heated up and ready to go. So first things first, let's go ahead and melt these center ones in place. Alright, so I'm going to add a little of this filament in here. I don't know if I'll need it, but oops, I pushed it the wrong way. Stop it. There we go. Alright, let's get the filament in there. Oh, I didn't know there was already filament in there, so it already kind of pumped some out. Didn't mean to do that. Alright, I'm going to need a paper towel just to kind of, so you can see the filament's kind of just coming out on its own. Alright, so now what we're going to try and melt this into place. Again, I'm going to have to add some of this melted stuff to hold it down. There we go. And I'm just stirring the two, black and the white, together. This will help me see where I applied the stuff, and hopefully that will hold into place. There we go. Let's go to the next one. Melt that up. Right, I have to mix the two together to make sure that it holds in. Pump a little of that out. Again, we're mixing the black and the white, making sure that it holds well together. Oh, there might be too much coming out right now, so let's go ahead and put that into this spot. So once it mixes together, it's going to hold that plastic in place. Let's cut some of that out. Okay, hopefully that's holding. I'm just trying to get a little bit. I don't want too much. Okay, and we're just going to melt the plastic into here to hold that in place. Go, next one. This one might need a lot of plastic because it looks like there's a big gap there. Stirring the black and white plastic together. Right, let's go on to the next one. Plastic is just going to keep coming out. Go. All right, I have to be careful not to damage this wire. Hold that out of the way. All right, move on to the next one. Mix that stuff together. Hopefully you guys are able to kind of see what I'm doing. I don't want too much of this plastic to come out. Okay, I'm gonna need more for this one. Plastic is just coming out there. All right. Should be good. Let's move on to this one. Alright, let's melt this one as well. Okay, should be good. Let's go on to the last one, this weird L-shaped area. I don't know if I can get this stuff to melt down below, so yeah, I don't think that's gonna melt and stick to the area down below, but whatever. We'll find out. There's also this one there that I can't really get into there, so we're just gonna leave that. Let's go back onto the circle ones. Alright, so I think most of that's good. Oh, there we go. I forgot about that. Clip that down. Get the plastic melted in over there. Should be good. Again, I don't know about these little L bracket areas because it won't melt to the area down below. So those will probably just have to live with it. Maybe I'll use some super glue or something. Alright, so there we go. We got this bracket in. As you can see, it holds itself. Okay, we'll set the 3D printer pen aside. Don't need that anymore. Alright. So I don't know. I mean, it's already holding itself okay. Actually, is this side sticking up slightly? Okay, I can actually melt this side a little bit, so let me do that real quick. Probably don't need more of the 3D printer stuff, but I can kind of just melt it in there. Yeah, let's see, should I? Okay, let's add a tiny bit. It's gonna be, let's see, I'm gonna turn it this way so I can work on it easier. just wanted to see a little bit coming out. It should be okay now. I don't think I can get anything in this melted. I just want a little. There we go. Okay, hopefully that will hold at least a little bit. All right. Should be good now. Alright. Okay, let's go ahead and set this aside again. Alright, so we got all of that. Again, I'm not too sure how these wires were going in, but the clips seem to be like there, so I'm gonna have to look at the clips on the back of the frame. Let's see here. So when this flips over, we got one clip that connects here, it looks like. Then we got clips going through the center. Sorry, this is gonna be confusing. So I see 3 clips. I think they're all going downwards, so okay, I think the clips attach to up there. I hope. So these should be for the cable. Alright, so we'll get this, and the clips attach up here, so the cable should go down there. So I'm guessing the cable is going to follow this route here. Yep, alright, so that looks about right. Hopefully you guys are able to see. Alright, I think I'm going to get these cables in first. I don't know if this is supposed to go that way. It looks like it is. Alright. So the cables likely go out through there. And I think I have these backwards now. So this is going to go to this side, right? Sorry if my head's going to get in the way. Oh, it goes to this. Okay, so left. Okay, so the hinge will sit like this. And it looks like the cables are supposed to go underneath the hinge. So, pretty sure this is the right side hinge. Yep. And it's basically going to do the same thing. It'll go down like that and it'll sit in there. And this one will go down like this, and it'll sit in here. So the cables have to come out from here, which means this cable likely will go around this way and go around this way. And then it will probably, wait. There's supposed to be clips that go to the screen from here. Let me double check. Okay, this will clip there, and then will there be, what is supposed to go there? Oh, there is a clip here. Okay. So clip goes here, so nothing should go down that way, I don't think. I think it should come out that way already. So nothing should be going down here. That makes sense. This cable will go around this way. I'm guessing there used to be, when this thing was raised up, then the cable goes that way. So this should go on top. this is right. So this is the left one, okay. Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna hold this cable in place. It's harder to do when there's no raised plastic thing there. So let's see here. So this, I'm gonna slide it over. And then it's gonna go in this way. Man, this is, okay, let me flip this over. Have to be very careful with these cables. There's all the screws all over. Okay. Is this cable supposed to go underneath? Let me get this cable out for now. Let's see about fitting this hinge into place real quick. So I don't know if the hinges are supposed to go over the top this way or underneath. That's the thing. This kind of sits in, but it's really wobbly, so I don't know. Is that because of this metal thing? Is the metal thing supposed to be on top? Is this metal piece supposed to be on top? Huh. The problem is I won't know because I've never seen, I haven't seen it before this. I don't think it's supposed to go on top. No, it can't. That's because then this won't sit right. So I don't know why they have that metal piece underneath. To me, it doesn't make sense. I don't see a reason for it. But okay. Sure, fine, whatever. So let's see. So this cable, if it follows that trail, does it go over the top this way? And then go underneath? Does it need to go that way? I'm guessing it goes underneath the hinge and then comes out this way like that. I don't know if the cables are supposed to go on top of the hinge or beneath the hinge though, but I guess I could always adjust that later. The main thing is I have to get this wire to stay underneath. Okay, so let's try and lift this, get this underneath. So this is the weird part. I don't know about this. Okay, maybe you have to hold it like that and get it there. Okay, the weird thing is this thing is super like rocky, like it doesn't stay in place. That doesn't feel right. So maybe the plastic there is supposed to be higher. I have no clue. This center one feels very solid. If I were to hold it here and kind of just epoxied it there, and then this feels like it's missing a whole bunch of stuff there. So maybe that's how I'm gonna have to do it. I might have to epoxy this here and then do it in 2 parts. This antenna works nicely. It goes over the top of the hinge here like that. So I think that's right. This should probably go on top of the hinge. And then the thing is, I don't know if it's supposed to go underneath. I think it is. Let's see, does it have to though? If this goes on top like that, this has to be flat, so I don't think we can. Yeah, this piece has to be flat, so we can't have it go the other way. So I'm probably gonna have to do a combination with this. I might have to use like hot glue or something to hold this into place so that way I can use the what do you call? Does this cable go underneath? think this cable goes underneath as well, but let's see here. So how am I going to get this here? Does it go under here? Was this cable supposed to go underneath? I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna have to rewatch the video and then I will see. All right, I'll see you guys in a bit. I'll figure this out, yeah, and I'll be back. All right, so here's what I ended up deciding to do in the end. So I took all the wires out. I figured if I route the wires through this area that the thing can still sit flat. This one actually has this area where it's kind of lower down, so this cable can go on top here. So I'm assuming that's how it's supposed to be. So when the cover goes on top, it will kind of keep that in place. And then these wires I'm just holding down with this for now. But these wires, they can kind of go over this way, all right? And then I can have the cover go on top. So that's what I'm going to aim for, all right? Especially since the glue is going to be holding it. Okay, so I'm going to hold these wires out of the way temporarily for now, okay? And I'm going to epoxy it down. The one thing I was trying to figure out was how I was going to find a proper way to glue this, because as you can see, this thing can rock around so much, and this one doesn't. I mean, it also rocks around a lot. So what I'm going to do, what I decided to do, is I found this one is kind of the most stable here, so it's also kind of out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some JB Weld here. This one is kind of the most stable, so I didn't want to kind of put the one that's more out of the way, like on that side, because this one, as you can see, rocks around a lot. So this one, I'm going to put the JB Weld on this spot and the JB Weld on this spot. And I'm only going to put it on those two spots. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, after it sets completely, I'm going to open it up, reassemble the whole laptop, and then close the screen down so that way it's in the position where it should be. And then from there I can figure out, I'll screw all of this in. I can figure out where to put the JB Weld. Or actually, I guess it will have to stay open 90 degrees. So we'll see how it goes. But once I get the hinges all back in place with the motherboard and everything, then I can figure out how I want to do the glue here, or it'll help pull it into the right position. So let's go ahead and get the JB Weld, okay? If you guys watch my other videos, you know the process. I don't know how I'm gonna do this because the screen's in the way. Actually, let me move the screen to the side for now. We're gonna mix up the JB Weld here. I just reuse this little plastic thing here. Okay, again, I have this toothpick where I use one side with the black part and one side with the white part, so that way they don't get mixed together and they don't start hardening within the tubes, okay? So let's go ahead and get that. Again, I'm only doing the two little screw areas first, and because I'm only kind of testing it, I don't even need to completely fill it, but because it will be hard to take back out afterwards, I guess we'll just completely fill those spots. Alright, so let's see, we got one, okay. So I'm gonna get enough just to fill that one spot here. Okay, so we're gonna get the white one first. Oops, kind of strung out. Okay, so we're gonna get about two screw holes worth of that into here. It's a little bit hard to estimate. If you don't know, just put a little more than you would need, or you can put a lot more, and then if you don't need it, just throw it away or whatever. I don't know. Okay, we're gonna close this one up and clean off this end of the toothpick so it doesn't contaminate. Clean this off as well. Right, put this one away, and then we want to get kind of the same equal amount of the black one, of course. All right, so here we go. We're gonna get about the same equal amount. Again, it's a little tough to judge, but I've been kind of doing this a while, so I can kind of get pretty close. Okay, There we go. Alright, so we're done with the black one as well. I think I always end up putting a little bit more of the black, just because the black is kind of, I don't know, since it absorbs the light, it's harder to tell how much you're putting. Alright, so I'm gonna kind of squeeze that. The shadow or the darkness makes it hard to see the curve. So, but that's about even. Alright, now I'm gonna use this and just stir them up. They should have like a little picture of the gray on the box, the color after you mix it, so you can kind of match it and make sure it's the same color. That would probably be a good way to ensure that you have the right mixture. So if it's too dark, you can add more of the white. If it's too light, you can add more of the black. I feel like they should do something like that. Alright, I might have mixed up way too much, but we'll see. Might end up having to just use it and hope that it sits the right way. Okay, so stir this all up. Make sure it's nice and uniform. I like this clear thing because I can see on the bottom and see that if it's completely mixed or not. Okay. My cat's exploring. Let me let my cat inside. I'm going to pause the video and I'll be back. Alright, so let's get the JB Weld in there. Okay, so I'm going to just get a little bit here. Yeah, and I think I made too much, but oh, whatever. If we don't use it, we don't use it. Okay, so I'm going to try and get that all in the little screw hole there. The one bad thing about this is now that I'm doing it this way, well, I guess in the morning I will do it, so hopefully it will stick all the pieces together properly. The problem, normally what I do is I put tape over this, so that way when I put the other frame on top, it will help push the epoxy into place and keep it flat. But since I can't do that right now, well, we'll see. I'll try and do it anyways, and then I'll just take it back out later. So hopefully it will work. Alright, so we got the JB Weld in there. What I like to do is I kind of like to wiggle it around to try and get the JB Weld to flow underneath as well and in between the cracks and everywhere. Okay, kind of just move it around. Make sure it goes all throughout the entire piece. Okay, and then I like to slightly overflow it. I think it's kind of coming out from the other side actually. I'm gonna have to be careful with that because I don't want it to glue down the bezel. Okay, so let me actually wipe off this excess that's coming out of this side here. Alright, there we go. I'm going to put a little bit extra so it can kind of overflow here. I'll probably add more later, but for now, hopefully this will work. Okay, now we're going to go to the other side, and then again I'm going to put it onto this one, because that one hopefully will keep it more centered and not wiggling all over the place. Alright, wobble this around, make sure it gets all in there. It's going to be a little tricky getting the wires to not get the glue on it. Hopefully I'll be able to do it and not let it get all over. Okay, so we'll get that in there. You can see there's a giant cavity, so now we're going to add more. Make sure it flows all in there. Didn't mean to make so much extra, but it is what it is. Probably made enough to fill one more spot, but I don't think I should, because if I do, when I put this, it won't have enough strength to move this around. So I think I have to just stick with what I planned here and just fill that one. Okay, I'll try and get the epoxy to kind of flow around here. Okay, kind of made a cavity again, so let's go ahead and get some more. Put that in there. Alright, this one's pretty good. Alright, I only made a little bit extra, so I think we should be okay. Get a little more, put it over here. Make sure this gets a nice solid fit. Okay, so I think what I need to do is I need to use a thinner plastic here so I can let this wire go along that route. Okay, let's see here. So I'm gonna get this clear tape stuff here. Okay, these kinds of repairs vary a lot from how it broke for each model, or each break, each model, each everything. So usually these kinds of repairs I kind of don't like to show, because then people end up messing up their computers trying to follow a guide. This kind of thing is not something where you can just follow instructions. You kind of have to know what you're doing. So if you don't know what you're doing, you want to be very careful. Alright. Alright, so I'm trying to wrap the tape over the edge to keep it from getting over the wire. In case you're wondering what I'm trying to do. It is a little tricky. I'm going to try using the tweezers here to help push this into place. Tweezers might not be the best choice for this, but it's the first thing, the closest thing that I had. So, alright, so I'm going to try and stick that onto that hinge there. Alright, and then we're going to wrap that over. Alright, and kind of, I don't think I can stick that side there. Alright, well, we'll just do that one. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this wire. I'm going to route it over here. As you can see, it's kind of going in this edge. If I don't put that there, when I go to put the cover on, it would actually squeeze this piece out, and then all that epoxy would end up all over the wire. That's why I did it this way. Okay, so we're gonna pull this wire over here as well. And what I kind of want the wire to do is go over this way. Alright, so hopefully I'll be able to get the wire to stay going this way when I put the thing in place. Okay, again, I want both wires to kind of take that route. Alright, so just like that. And then this one, I'm going to put some tape over that as well. Hopefully that will prevent the epoxy from leaking and sticking onto the bezel or the frame. Okay, just like that. Alright, so now we're going to put the plastic bezel over it. Alright, let me grab the bezel. What did I do with that? Let me pause real quick and get the bezel. Alright, so I got the bezel. Let's go ahead and see about popping this into place. So I'm going to slide this underneath. Okay, tie this wire over. Okay, hopefully this will fit right. So I'm just going to snap on the bottom half. Okay, just like this. Might not, hopefully it will fit okay. There we go. So I'm just snapping on the bottom stuff. Let's go ahead and rotate this. Sorry, it might be out of view right now. Get this out of the way. Okay, there we go. And oh man, that's what I was worried about. Those wireless antennas are kind of getting pinched, so I don't know if it's gonna work. Kinda works. Oh, we'll see. All right, so now I'm going to snap this in. All right, there we go. It's gonna be, because of this wire, it's a little bit bulged out, but hopefully it'll be okay. I'll try and align it and make it a little bit better once it's completely hardened. But now that this piece is in place, this is actually holding a lot better. So maybe the epoxy will hold it in the right position. This one's kind of still wobbly, so I don't know about that. I guess we'll see. All right, I'm gonna leave that overnight, and then I'm gonna pop all the frame back out, and we will epoxy the rest once we reassemble it. All right, so I'll see you guys later. Bye. All right, it's time to continue this repair. So let's go ahead and take this bezel back off. Hopefully it didn't get glued or epoxied down to the frame. Let's go ahead and try and pop it up and see what we got underneath. All right, so let's pop this back out. Okay, hopefully the adhesive isn't gonna get stuck. It looks like it's coming out okay. We're gonna slide our fingernail or pry tool underneath here to release the clips on the front there. All right, and then we're gonna continue popping this frame out. Okay, the adhesive, the double stick adhesive is still holding on to this, so have to be a little careful pulling this back up. There we go, and nice. So here you can see none of the epoxy stuck on there. That's exactly how we wanted it. That's why we put that tape there. It's holding up really nicely. Oops. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, so as you can see, we now have the hinges nicely mounted here with just one, and we can still kind of move this around, which is what we wanted. All right, so let's go ahead and now hold the hinge down while we kind of open the thing all the way up. Okay, we'll do the same with this side. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab the keyboard assembly. Hold on, I'm gonna pause the video and grab that. Okay, so I'm back. We got the keyboard assembly here. I might have to zoom out, but basically we're gonna want this to go back onto it like this. Okay, let's rotate it this way, and hopefully we can get it back in. Let's see, so it's gonna go that. Okay, it does work, perfect. Okay, so with the hinges all the way back like this, I don't know if I'll be able to show this on camera. Let me try. So as you can see, we can now slide this part in underneath, just like this. Okay, that's what we want. And then we can slowly drop the keyboard down. Okay, it's hitting the hinge, so we are going to likely have to find a way to turn this while we're doing that. I guess what we can do, we might have to leave it open like that and hang it off the edge of our desk. Okay, so we might have to put the hinges like this and then tighten the screws in place, and then we'll apply the epoxy to the other sides while it's open like this. All right, so I'm gonna hang this off the edge of my desk. All right, just like this. Let me try and make it easier to see. There we go. So just like the other models I work on, it's gonna be a little confusing because everything is upside down now, but let's see here. So, okay, for this down, so we're gonna go in reverse. Let's go ahead and put these screws back in. Okay. We are going to add some thread locker after this, but for now we're just going to screw them into place. Okay. Just like that. Looks like it's holding up pretty well, so that's good. Make sure you don't smash any wires with the screws, of course. Okay, this is going together really nicely. I think we should be good here. Looks like it's going to work really well. And these cables will wrap around through these routed guiding areas here, down here. Okay, so we're gonna get that back in. All right, let's go ahead and get the rest of these screws in here. Gotta hold this in place. All right. So this is actually doing really well. The one screw trick actually helped, filling with the epoxy. So the reason we did that is so that if there is some like torsional or twisting stress, that the epoxy that we put now is going to be accommodating with that, okay? So we got those screws in. Let's go ahead and route this wire over as well. Okay, just like that. All right, now let's go ahead and flip this back over. All right, so we're gonna have this up like that. I'm gonna try and hold on to these screws areas, the hinges, and raise this up about 90 degrees. There we go, so that there's less force kind of pulling on the hinges while the epoxy is setting. So it looks like this is working really well. Okay, now we're going to have to apply the epoxy to the other screws down here, and then we're gonna have to let that sit for several hours before we can go ahead and put the rest back in place. Actually, I could probably close it down with the screen and everything, so let me attempt to do that. All right, there's kind of a shadow there, but you saw what I did last time. We're just gonna get the epoxy, fill up all these gaps, put some tape over it, and then put the plastic cover on top. So this plastic should allow for me to get the cover. Hopefully it will let me get the cover over. I might have to tilt the screen back all the way again. Let's see here. Shoot, this is gonna be tough, like with one hand like this. Okay, I'm gonna leave it open like this. Hopefully it can take the stress while I'm gonna be adding the epoxy, and then we will finish the rest after. Let me put the thing back here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oops, I'm getting messages, sorry. Let me zoom out a bit. Okay, actually the weight of the screen is heavy enough to hold it, so let's go ahead and get the epoxy. I'm gonna actually zoom in once I get that all mixed together. So let's get the plastic thing again, just like last time. Okay, we're going to mix up, there's 1, 2, 3, 6 of those things. So we're gonna mix up enough for 6. Okay, I've been doing this a while, so that's how I can kind of like eyeball it and measure how much epoxy I'm going to need. Again, if you're not sure, it's always better to have more than not enough, so that way you won't have to go back and do it. So here you can see this cable is still removable, as well as that one. Okay, all right, so we're gonna need about 6 sides of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's probably about what we need. All right, I've just been doing this a while, so I can kind of guesstimate it a little bit. All right, I'm gonna clean off the end of this toothpick so that I can use that side to get the black stuff now. All right. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's about how much we'll need. All right, hopefully that's about right. Take a look. All right, this one's a bit higher, so I think that's about equal. It's a little difficult to tell again, but yeah, after you do it enough times, you can get pretty accurate. Okay, let's go ahead and stir this stuff together. I'll likely have to stop the recording at one point because my phone is running out of storage. I'm gonna have to delete the trash and stuff I keep forgetting. All right, so let's stir this all up. Hopefully it's enough time for at least for me to get the base back in. All right, stir this stuff up. Make sure to mix it all together. If If you're wondering why I record the whole thing, because I share these videos with my customers and I want them to be able to see all the work that goes into it, how much time. I don't like fast forwarding through. It also makes the videos more useful. So, yep. All right. Okay, it's mixed up pretty well. Looks good, maybe a little bit there. Okay, let's go ahead and start filling in those little holes. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in. Since you don't really need to stare at the glue that I'm using. All right, so let's go ahead and fill that in. Again, you wanna kind of stir it all around, make sure it gets in all the cracks and crevices. That. Go on to the next one. Okay, as you can see, this one is overflowing outside. That's okay. It's gonna wrap around the hinge and prevent it from ever breaking again. All right. To this one. Since this plastic piece is broken here, you can also put some there. All right, make sure it flows into place. Okay, it's holding up well. So again, normally if there's a good holding place, I wouldn't have done one first, because I like to be able to lift and move this around so that the epoxy can get deeper into the grooves and go underneath and flow all around. But because of the way this was designed, I had to do it this way. Okay. You see, I'm gonna wipe up the stuff that's got on the hinge on accident. You don't want any epoxy to stick on this rotating area of the hinge. Oh, you can't even see, but this, you don't want anything sticking there. All right, let's move on to the other side now. Okay, I am going to add more to the other side afterwards. I'm just giving it time to flow around. Okay. Stir that all around, make sure it gets all over. And now this metal piece is going to be epoxied down. I don't know why they made that metal piece removable. I don't know what the point of that is. But they did. All right, let's get the epoxy into here. More epoxy, get it into there. Oh, this one's gonna need a lot. Okay. I know this is a long video. Most people probably just fast forward over, didn't really need any of this, but hopefully it will help somebody. Okay, the epoxy is actually flowing out here, so I might want to put a piece of tape over. It's gonna end up gluing that screen in place, or the screen cable, which we don't want, so I'm gonna try and wipe that up a little bit. All right, at least thin it out, so if it does have any issues, we could just crack it and break it off. All right. Okay, let's try getting a little down there. I mean, for the strength of the hinge, it would be good to epoxy the whole thing together, but if for some reason the hinge broke and this was glued there, that would be really bad. It would end up breaking the cable, so I try and avoid anything that would make it to where it's going to be very difficult to repair any other components. If the hinge breaks that bad, most likely you'll have to replace the whole top piece, so hopefully this should be good. Okay. Get all of that epoxy in there. Looking good. Oops, I got it on the cable. Don't want it on the cable. If it's just a little bit, again, it's not too big of a deal because then you can just crack the glue or the epoxy. Alright, let's move back over to the left side again. Hopefully I made enough epoxy. I might be cutting it super close. Okay, so this is about how much I have left. I think we're going to be cutting it close. I might have to make a little more. Let's get that in there, because it is flowing through more than I was expecting. Yeah, I'm probably going to need more. Just a tad more. Alright, so we got all this. It looks like it's holding okay. Actually, it might be good enough. I don't want to put way too much. Part of it might be also because it's not being pressed. Yeah, if I push this down, it's going to have overflow, so I'm going to take some off of this. And transfer it over to the other side. Sorry, I can't keep moving the computer back and forth, but I'll show you the finished result afterwards. Okay, this one's way overflowed, so we'll put that over there. There we go. Okay, let's get the remainder and fill the last one, and then we're going to cover it with the tape, just like the other one. It's the other two. Okay. I'm just scraping up the epoxy to get it all in one pile. Alright, there we go. Move this over, and we'll just fill up the last one over here. Might need a little more on this side. This one doesn't have as much as I was hoping. Okay. That one's pretty good. This one is pretty good. Gonna need a little for this one. Okay, let's see here. Oh, okay, so this side is way overflowed. So we're gonna take it from this side. Put it over here. Yeah, after the tape and everything smashes it into place, it's gonna spill out if I don't clean it up. So get that lined up. That lined up. Okay. Should be good. Alright, that was like the perfect amount. Let me squeegee off a tiny bit more from the thing I was mixing it on. Okay, now let's see which one will need it more. Probably here. All right, there we go. Should be good to go. Now let's go ahead and get some tape and put the bezel in place. Okay, I'm gonna clean up the stuff here. All right, I'm gonna zoom out. All right, just cleaning this stuff off. Clean this off. All right, make sure if you're gonna reuse the stuff, well, most people won't reuse this stuff, so you can just throw it away, but I reuse this stuff so I don't have to keep throwing these away. Just clean it all up. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and put all of these tubes away. Okay, looks like we should be good. I'm gonna set the stuff aside. Sorry. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and cut up some pieces of tape and start covering up the little screw mount holes. Okay, just got some tape here. Just gonna cut that up and cover this. Okay, get this one and cover this side. I'm gonna cut a few more pieces. Let's see, I have some tape that's just sitting up here, so I'm gonna use that. Uh-oh, it wrapped over itself. Okay, got it. All right, so let's see here. Do I need this whole amount? Not really, but can't really do anything with the excess. All right, so let's get this piece and put that over there. Like that. And that tiny excess amount, I'm just going to put it over this way. Make sure it doesn't flow over the side and get into the bezel. Okay. And we're going to want this to go over that way. And we just need a tiny bit more. Some more tape over here. Okay. Like that. Cut a piece off. Alright, get that all lined up and stick that into place. Perfect. Same as before, get a small piece and we're just going to put it over this. There we go. Now when we squeeze this, it will hopefully all flow in properly. It looks good. All right, let's go ahead and put the bezel back on. So this might be a little tricky, we'll see, hopefully not. Okay, so the bezel, we're just gonna get this all lined up. Make sure everything is nice and flat and flush. Be careful with the epoxy. All right. This part might be a little tricky because it's not supposed to be like this, but I just did it to make it so that if anything happens, we can maneuver it later. Maybe I'll put a piece of tape just to hold this in place. That might help. Let's do that. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this all in the right place that we want it. I'm going to tape this down here just so it doesn't move around. Perfect. Okay, looks good. All right, let's get that bezel into place and throw this piece of tape away. The scissors away. Okay, so bezel, first thing we're going to do is get this piece in, of course. Okay, tuck that underneath there. And then we're gonna have to push this through just like that, right? And clip the bottom clips into place, just like that. Make sure everything is clicked in nicely. All right, we're gonna work our way up the sides. All right, this is not gonna really fit in camera, I think. Okay, maybe I can. All right, I have to be careful with those screws. Okay, work your way up the sides. Again, you kind of want to have it doing that twisting motion to get the bolt clips back in. If it doesn't want to go on the sides, you can go ahead and go along the top first. It helps to kind of push this side. We're basically also rotating it, same as like how it was when we took it out, but instead now we're pushing it in as well. Okay, just like that. So if these clips aren't going in, you might have to kind of rotate it just like how when we removed it. There we go, perfect. Okay, so now the hinge is holding. What we're going to do, because now all the weight is pushing, like pulling the hinges up like this, we have to kind of pull the keyboard down as we kind of rotate it, and that will keep the pressure over the hinges like pushing down this way. All right, so just like this. Slowly pushing it down. All right, when you get over to here, rotate and keep the downward pressure over the hinges just like that. There we go. So now we got the hinges all in place. Okay, I have a customer here, so I'm gonna have to continue on the next part. All right, but the hinges now should be good. Make sure to clip all of this back in. All right, this one clip is not going in. There we go. All right, and that should do it. Again, we are going to put some thread locker here, but yeah, I'll do that when I get back. All right, see you guys soon. All right, sorry about that, I'm back. So now let's continue with the reassembly. We are going to have to redo the thermal paste, so make sure if you're messing with the motherboard that you are grounding yourself. All right, we are going to clean off all this paste here. So I just used some paper towel to do this over a trash can. I just turn it upside down and wipe it off. So I'm gonna clean that real quick and I will be back. All right, actually, let me see. I can actually do this over the desk. So let me show you guys here. All right, I'm just gonna get another paper towel or something and then have all the old thermal paste go over there. Most likely this paste is pretty liquidy, so it's probably not even going to need to be turned over. Let's see, I'm gonna try and just wipe it off and see what happens. Another nice way to do it is you can use a little thin tool and you can kind of like squeegee it off. All right, so if there's a bunch of it, you can kind of just go along here, squeegee it and get that off and kind of wipe it this way. All right, oops, let me zoom in so you guys can see better. All right, so we're gonna do this for both the CPU and the GPU. Actually, this paste is somewhat crusty and dried, it feels, so it's actually good that we're cleaning this, I guess. All right. All right, we're just gonna get all this stuff off. Let's go ahead and move to the GPU. Same thing. This one's a lot smoother, the chip, so it's easier to kind of clean up because you don't have all those raised capacitors and stuff sticking out. At least I think those are capacitors. On the CPU, I don't know. All right. Get all this gunk off. You want to be careful not to drop this on the other areas of the motherboard. Should be okay because there's no power, but if you drop it and then you turn it on and it's still there, you can sometimes there's a risk of shorting out the board depending what kind of paste this is. A lot of companies like to use like silver or something, so it's very conductive. All right, let's go ahead and clean this. Again, you want to make sure that the paste isn't falling into the motherboard. All right, so here you can see the GPU is the CPU is pretty clean. Let's go ahead and wipe up the GPU here. Pretty clean. We will have to scrape out that excess. I am going to have to turn that upside down to clean that off. So I'm going to use a paper towel here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this upside down. All right. And while I have it upside down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a toothbrush here and scrub off the loose thermal paste. Sorry, you're just looking at the bottom of the motherboard, but there we go. Got most of it out. Again, there's still little specks here, so I'm gonna tilt it over so that way when I scrape it, it just falls out. Okay. There we go, and we're pretty good to go. Here you go. GPU looks pretty nice and clean as well. All right, and then another thing I like to do, just to make sure it's very clean, is to take 91% isopropyl rubbing alcohol. All right, I'll just put it a little bit on the paper towel, and then we'll just wipe the dye off. All right, so this silver piece, I believe it's called the dye. Sometimes they have a little cover on top, but these ones I think are actually the CPU and GPU dye. All right, spelled D-I-E. All right, go. Clean that all off. All right, looks good. Make sure to dry this off as well. I'm gonna try and get all the little edges here. Okay, and then I'm gonna use my little air blower and just make sure to clean the lint and any loose stuff off. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and zoom out and put this back into the laptop. All right, set this stuff aside. Let's get the laptop back up here. Zoom out some more. Okay, so the tricky part is we have this foam thing here again. All right, and then all these little cables. Make sure that the little cables went underneath those plastic routing guide things. All right. And then this one, we had the HDMI port has to go in first. So we have to kind of put it at an angle like this. Okay, and then you want to make sure all these cables end up back on top. If you trap them underneath, you're going to end up having issues. So make sure that when you put this back, you make sure to grab all these cables back out. All right, you got the audio jack, the touchpad, the video cable. You got the keyboard cable here, right? Keyboard backlight cable. Right, you got these two cables that we're gonna have to get underneath this blue thing again. Okay, or at least this one has to go underneath the blue thing, the other one goes on top. Okay, so we're gonna slowly lower this down. If it's not lining up, we might have to adjust it. Yeah, that's not going in right, so I have to kind of lift this and fix it. It's not, there we go. Okay. Make sure all the wireless antennas and the speaker cables end up back on top. There we go. And this cable, let's go ahead and reattach down here. Okay, flip that, make sure that latch is flipped up. Get the cable in. All right, once you get it in, just slide your finger over the top of the latch. Now we're going to go ahead and push this stuff back down. I think I actually have to peel that piece back up a little bit. So let's go ahead and, oh no. Okay, it's stuck again. So I have to peel this blue piece up a little bit again. And use this tool and scrape this blue foam back up. Okay. Scrape that blue foam back up and out of the way. Okay, I forgot if I had to actually remove this whole adhesive piece, but we're just scraping this foam up. There we go. That's enough out of the way. Let's go ahead and get the cable back in. Sorry, I can't really zoom in because I have to focus on this. All right, push these back down. All right, we can let the foam back down. I believe the foam goes underneath this cable, or does it go on top? Okay, I guess this cable goes underneath. All right, let's zoom in a little bit now. Okay, we're gonna get this cable back in, make sure the latch is up again, clean off the connectors a little bit. All right, make sure that's in. There's some dust on there or something. All right, and then flip that latch back down. All right, there we go. Get this back in place. This was somewhat over the screw before, so let's go ahead and put it kind of like that again. Actually, it looks like it should be going like this. I don't know why it was angling down the other way before, so we'll just stick it back on top the way it should be. Okay, just like that. Again, we got all these loose cables here. These will be routed by the fan once we put the heatsink and everything back in. Make sure this goes in properly. Okay, so we're gonna wait until we have the heatsink and everything back in before we put the rest. So let's go ahead and put back the motherboard screws here. Make sure everything is lined up right. You could kind of tell because these will all like line up with the speaker area. Okay, just like that. You can see the rounded curves. All right, so now let's go ahead and put the screws back in here. So first we're gonna start with this metal bracket. You don't have to do it in the same order as me, but I'm doing it in this way because it's easiest for me to remember. All right, then we got this screw here. I might have to actually put the heatsink back first because I'm going to get confused with the fan screws. So we had this one screw here. That was one of the really long screws. Okay. Oops, sorry. Up here. Okay, I believe we had the 2 fan screws there. I'm going to skip that again until I have the heatsink in. All right, then we had one down here. Let's go ahead and put all these cables back in real quick. All right, the audio jack cable. That lined up. All right, flip that latch down. All right, touchpad cable. If any of these stop working for any reason, you can go back and hopefully figure out which cable switch. Flip that latch down. Make sure it's good. All right, let's go ahead and go over to the keyboard backlight connector. Get that in. Looks good. Flip that latch down. Keyboard connector. Get that lined up. Get that in place. Okay, flip that latch down. Go. This is for the hard drive, I believe, so we don't need to do that yet. Actually, we can do that in a bit. Let me see here. Wireless card goes there. What else did we need that we got? Okay, let's go ahead and put the M.2 Intel Optane SSD thing here. All right, it goes in at an angle like this. All right, take the screw, push this down, make sure you're not smashing the cables. All right, and we'll tighten this in place. There we go. All right, let's go on to the hard drive down here. Okay. All right, make sure the wireless antennas are out of the way. Get the hard drive cable lined up. Get that in. All right, flip that latch down. There we go. This all looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and get these 4 screws in as well. I'm gonna loosely fit them first, and then I'll put the rest, I'll tighten them down once I got all 4 screws in. All right. The 4th screw here. All right, let's tighten it into place. Make sure everything is lined up. Okay, one up here, and the one over here. Okay, again, I'm gonna leave the fan screws out for now. Let's go ahead and put back the others. So we got the 1 screw all the way down here between these 2 cables. Okay, let's see. We got one there. Got these 2 fan screws. Let's see, where did the fan screws go? So the fan will go like this, I believe. 1 screw there, and then 1 screw up here. Oh, this is going to be confusing now. Let's see. So we got the 2 fan screws there. Then we got, okay, so we got the short screw. Oops, sorry. we got the short screw up here. Then we got another short screw down here. Alright. Alright, and then we got one other short screw there. Alright, those are all the motherboard screws. Let's go ahead and put back the wireless card. So wireless card goes in here at an angle like that. Alright. Get the last short screw. Oops, sorry, I'm out of view. So it goes in like that at an angle. Okay, we're going to slowly drop that down and get this screw in there. Want to hold that plastic out of the way, of course, and tighten that into place. There we go. Alright, now let's go ahead and grab the heatsink. I'm going to zoom out for this so that you can see the entire piece. There we go. Alright, grabbing the heatsink. We are going to have to clean the thermal paste off this as well. So you can see I'm just going to hold it like this and then wipe it off over a trash can or another paper towel. So let me move this out of the way because I don't want the paste to get on that. Alright, I'm just going to use this tiny piece of paper towel. Hopefully it's good enough. So keep pressure under there so you don't bend the pipes. And we're just going to wipe this stuff off. Okay. Same thing up here. Just wipe that stuff off. Again, it would help. You can actually scrape a little bit of it off beforehand. But it's not a big deal. There wasn't too much overflow of paste on this one. Some manufacturers, they way overflow the thermal paste. This one, they actually did a decent job. I don't know if somebody reapplied the thermal paste at a later time, but it looked like it was done pretty well. Alright, so we got that all cleaned up. We're going to use the rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol again, just like before. Get that in there, and then we're going to clean off the residue. You don't want to push down too hard on this because you don't want to bend the thermal pipes again. Alright, clean both sides. Doesn't need to be perfect. We are going to just apply more new thermal paste. But I like to make sure it's super clean so that the new thermal paste can get a very good contact. Alright, let's go ahead and go back to here. And we're going to clean this a little bit just to make sure no new dust contaminants got on it. There we go. Alright, use the air blower thing again. Same thing with the heatsink. Alright. So now for the thermal paste. On this one, we're going to use a little dot. Alright, and then this one we're going to use like a grain of rice. So let's zoom in. Alright. So you don't actually need too much. Let me see if it'll be clear. Okay. So you actually don't need too much thermal paste. Alright. A lot of people overdo it, like way overdo it. This one, you just need like a dot in the middle. Okay, like that. You can put a tiny bit more, but that's already quite a bit. Okay, so just a dot like this in the center. It's best to keep it in the center as much as possible, okay? Because what happens is when you put the heatsink on, it will push the circle out and it will spread it out into to spread over the whole thing. So it doesn't look like much, but if you saw how thin it spreads it thinner than a piece of paper. So actually this is more than enough. And then the outer edges of the circle will kind of overflow, but the rest will fill in. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do this side as well. Again, somewhat like a grain of rice. Let me actually rotate this so it's easier for me to work on. Okay, so we're going to do this somewhat like a grain of rice. Just like that. Alright, same thing, you kind of want it in the center as much as possible, because when the screws put pressure down on that copper heatsink, it's gonna flatten it and smush it all outwards. All right. So just like that. Okay, you kind of want to make sure it's as centered as possible. It looks like it's more over to one side than the other. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and get the heatsink on. So here you can see this one. It's like about the size of a grain of rice, and then this one, I don't know what you would compare that to, a grape nut. All right, let's zoom out. Zoom out way more. There we go. All right, now we're gonna get the heatsink back in. You wanna check also right now, since we have the thing out, if there's any dust in there, to use a toothbrush and just brush that out. Okay, there's a little bit of dust still in there, so I'm gonna kind of try and just clean that out a little while I can. Okay, looks good. All right, so now you don't want to mix up which side is which. So this is the GPU and this is the CPU. You can also look at these things here. Okay, so we're gonna line this up and then just drop it in place. Let me zoom in a tad bit. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna drop this back on top. These cables we can worry about later. Just make sure that they're going over on the other side of this hinge here. Okay, you don't want it going out over to here. All right, so line up, when you slowly drop it, line up these holes. Okay, slowly, carefully. Make sure everything matches up right, because once you drop it down, it's gonna smush the thermal paste, and then it's gonna be a pain to have to redo it and move everything around again. So there we go. We're gonna lower it down this way, because we do have to get these parts back in there first. There we go. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and get the screws in. These are numbered, so you do want to put them in a certain order. Okay. So the numbers go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then you got, let me see, it's hard to see here. Okay, this is 5, 6, 7, 8, it looks like. Oh, oops, that's 1. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7. All right, so let's go ahead and put the screws in that order. I'm not going to tighten them all the way again. It's always a good idea to loosely fit it first. Oh shoot, I forgot to redo to put some thread locker in the screws down there. I mean, they are holding really strong, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Let's go ahead and take this back out. Man, that's gonna suck. I might have to redo the thermal paste. Let's see how much it squished it down. Hopefully it didn't squish it down too much. Here you'll kind of partially see what the thermal paste does. Okay, so good, it didn't squish it down too much. So here you can see it already kind of spread out a bit. Anyways, I forgot to put the thread locker on the hinge screws, so I want to do that to make sure that those screws don't come loose, because if they come loose, then it's gonna end up breaking the thing, and you want to make sure you put all that time to fixing it. You don't want it to come loose. So let's go ahead and take this screw out. So they already put some blue thread locker on these, but I like to add a tiny bit of the red one just so it holds a lot better. There's no chance at all that it's gonna come out. All right, and take this one back out as well. We're just putting very little. Okay, go ahead and take this screw out. You want to be careful not to get this stuff on the plastic pieces. I heard that the plastic can actually get brittle if you get the stuff on it over time. Okay. All right. Just a little. There we go. Let's go ahead and go on to the other side. gonna actually scrape up the thermal paste into a pile again, because now that I lifted it out, it has all those air pockets in it. You don't want all those air pockets inside underneath, to be trapped underneath. Okay. So when you have it as a mound, it actually will spread all the air bubbles out to the edges, but since I lifted it up now, I'm gonna have to redo that. All right, so we got all those screws with the thread locker in there. Make sure the screws are tightened. Again, now I'm gonna try and push all the thermal paste back into the center. So I'm gonna just use this and kind of just make it back into a ball like before. All right, it doesn't have to be perfect like before. Just wanna try to get it to start. So that way when it pushes, it'll push all those other air bubbles back out. Let's go ahead and get this back into like the shape of a grain of rice. Again, we're just trying to make the mound in the center, so that way when it spreads out, it's gonna push out evenly. All right, there we go. So that should be good. All right, let's go ahead and now put the heatsink back for real this time. All right, get that, line it up. All right, get this all lined up. Uh-oh, this is getting caught on there. That's not supposed to happen. Let go. Okay, there we go. Slide these back under. Oops. Slide the heatsink parts back under here. All right, slowly lower it down. There we go. All right, now let's get those screws back in. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go in the pattern. I'm gonna zoom in here so it's easier to see. All right, so screw number one here goes at the top. Right now, I'm just gonna go backwards till I hear a click. Like that, and then 1, 2. All right, we're gonna get screw number 2 that goes down here. Same thing, get this one, twist it backwards, hear the click, 1, 2, all right. And we're gonna get screw number 3 up here. Click, 1, 2, all right, screw number 4, right here, same thing, click, 1, 2, all right, then we're gonna get number 5 down here. All right, same thing, twist it backwards, click, right, 1, 2, right, screw number 6 down here, 1, 2, and then the last one here, 1, 2. That makes sure everything is lined up properly. Then we're gonna go ahead and go through 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let's go ahead and tighten it all the way. Okay, tighten that all the way down. Tighten this all the way down. Okay, screw number 3. Screw number 4. Come on. All right, screw number 5. Screw number 6. And screw number 7. All right, now that we got all of that in, let's go ahead and get the fans back into place. Let's zoom out. Actually, I can probably do it this way so you can see the cabling better. So we're gonna have to make sure to get the cables back in. If there's dust in the fan, now's the time to clean it all out. I kind of cleaned out most of it already before, but there's still a little. All right, so let's go ahead and get this. You want this cable to go into this cable management loop. Then let's go ahead and get the cable lined up, just like this. All right, make sure that it's all lined up completely. And then use the wings again. You don't want to use the tape, but use the wings of this connector to kind of pull it back in. You want to make sure the tape doesn't stick back down. All right, there we go. Now that's all back in all the way. You can go ahead and tape this back down, and it's going to stick back to the SSD, I guess. So there we go. All right, slide this back over into place. All right, get the fan cable lined up. Pinch the two pieces together to get it locked in. Let's go ahead and put back the two screws here. Got this one up here. There we go. And we got the other one over here. All right, so I'm gonna have to let the epoxy that's sitting for the hinges here set for 15 hours. So after I get all of the rest of this stuff back together, we're gonna have to leave it sitting for a bit. All right, let's go ahead and get fan number 2. All right, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see everything here, because there's all these connectors. All right, let me make sure this one's cleaned up. There's still a tiny bit of dust here as well. Okay, let's go ahead and get this one in. So this one has all these routing mechanisms as well. Just make sure that once you get the fan in, that you can get all those cables through those routing areas as well. Okay, so I'm gonna put the speaker cable first because it's easier. Let's go ahead and pinch the fan connector into place. Okay. It might actually be better to have the wireless antennas underneath that speaker cable. So let me get the wireless antennas in first, actually. Okay. Then the antenna wires will go this way. Let's see, does it matter which one? It doesn't really matter which one's on top, I don't think. But I'll put number 2 on top because that one plugs in closer. Okay, so we'll get those cables in those routed areas. Make sure it goes all the way over to this area as well. Okay, it goes through there, and this one also. There we go. Okay. And then we're gonna have to peel that up later. So let's go ahead and do the speaker cable. Just like that. All right, make sure you don't flip the speaker cable upside down. They actually put a mark on it, so there's a little dot, but you want these little metal pins facing down against the motherboard. All right, so get that and pinch that in. There we go. Everything is sitting together nicely. Let's tuck that cable under there. Okay, let's go ahead and get the 2 screws in, and then we'll plug in the wireless antennas. Get this one screw here. Make sure that when you put the screw, it's not pinching any of the wires. Okay, get the other screw up here. There we go. We got all the board screws in. Okay, let's go ahead and get the wireless antennas. This one's a little tricky because of this dumb plastic tab here. We might, actually, I'll just peel it off. All right, slowly peel it up. All right, I'm gonna flip it over that way. Oops. There we go, and let's go ahead and get these cables in. So I'm gonna go ahead and put cable number 1 first. Get it through that routing area. I don't know if it has to go through this routing area because it's weird. It's like, oops, the thing stuck to my finger. But anyways, let's see if we can get it through this area and connect this. You want to make sure it gets lined up completely before pushing it down. The way you know it's lined up is if you try and move it around while it's on top, it won't move anywhere. Then you can go ahead and click it into place. There we go. All right, and then last cable here. Make sure everything is lined up. These cables are pretty fragile, so you want to be careful with them. Okay, get this one lined up. If you try and force it down when it's not lined up right, there's a very good chance you're going to end up denting the cable and it's not going to go in anymore. Alright, this one looks good, and let's snap that in. Alright, so we got all the wires all snapped in place properly. Let's go ahead and put this little plastic tab back on top. Okay, so I can see where it kind of stuck to these pieces, so I'm going to stick it back on like that. And there we go, just like that. Make sure that those wireless antennas will stay locked in place. All right, last piece we're gonna put inside is the battery. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, the battery kind of has some dust on it, so now's the time to clean it. Okay, so battery we're gonna slide back in like opposite of how we took it out. Okay, there's these little feet that stick out, so we're gonna slide those into place there, just like that. Make sure that these pins up here line up properly, okay, like that. Make sure to check closely that everything is lined up, because once you push this down, your battery's already connected. So let's see here, that looks about right. For some reason it's having a tough time going in though. Okay, it looks like I have to actually push it further back here. So this piece is a little bit, requires a little bit of pressure to pull it down, and then there we go. Okay, so make sure the battery is all lined up. Let's go ahead and put back the 3 battery screws here. All right, this is most likely the BIOS, CMOS, or RTC real-time clock battery as well. So once you turn it back on, it might take a while because the BIOS is going to be reinitializing. All right, again, I'm gonna have to wait till the epoxy sets to test that, so that's gonna suck. Anyways, for now, I'm gonna leave the bottom cover off. I'm gonna let it sit overnight just to make sure. Oh, make sure that goes back in properly. So I'm gonna let this sit overnight, and then once it's time that the epoxy is set, I'm gonna try and power it on. If everything works okay, then I will put the bottom cover back on, because the bottom cover on this model was pretty difficult to take out and put back. All right, so we'll see you guys. I guess I'll see you guys in a bit, but for me, it's gonna be 15 hours. All right, bye. All right, so it's been about enough time. Let's go ahead and plug it in and power it up. Actually, let's see if it turns on without even plugging it in. I didn't click all the bottom cover back in yet, but we're gonna just slowly open this up. All right, let's see if it powers on. Nope. Okay, let's go ahead and plug it in. All right, charge light's on. It's powered up. It's powering on. All right now I just have it upside down, so we'll see. Hopefully the screen will come up. Usually after disconnecting the battery, it resets the BIOS, so we're gonna have to wait a bit for the screen to come up. All right, hopefully it's gonna come up and there's nothing weird with the hardware. All right, as you can see, the computer, I don't know if you saw, but the computer turned itself off. Now it's turning back on. Right now I don't have my screen to see what I'm recording, so I have to stand and look at my phone. But I believe it's starting up because it restarted itself, so that's a good sign. All right, we're gonna just wait for it. Cover's good. There is a little bit of a bump here, so here you go. You can see the CMOS reset that I was talking about. All right, let's flip it over this way. And there you go. So you can see BIOS was reset and it says enter to reboot the system. All right, but that's a good sign. That means the computer should be good to go. So we're just gonna close it all back up, put all the screws back in, and that's pretty much all there is to this repair. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, make sure to like and subscribe and share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to fix their devices. All right, thanks for watching. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing to the channel. All right, so I can see that the computer is on right now. If I unplug it, okay, it's staying on. That's a good sign. All right, so let's go ahead and shut down the computer. All right, and we should be good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and show how to put the screws back in. All right, other than that, you can see this computer's good to go. It's fixed. All right, I'm gonna leave it plugged in so it can continue charging. Let's go ahead and snap all these clips back in. Okay, just go ahead and push down all the way around. Okay, just like that, and we should be good. All right, so let's go ahead and put back all the screws. Probably should have waited till the computer was completely off, but go. All right. And there we go. Welcome to stay as I put back the rest of the screws, but we're pretty much done. Alright, last 4 screws. These screws are super long. Alright, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, bye. Let's drop this thing.